Hi guys, Zach from BIMteriors, and today before we continue on to more walls or creating ceilings, flooring or whatnot, I wanted to talk about the modified tools that you have access to. Over the past 15 years with working with architects, interior designers, and mentoring them and watching how they use these tools to move, copy, array, rotate, I realized that they didn't know half of the features that came with these modified tools that would make them that much more efficient while working within their model. So today I'm going to share these findings with you. All right, let's jump right into it. Move elements with the move tool. The move tool works similar to dragging. However, it offers additional functionality on the options bar that we'll go over and allows more precise placement. So to move elements with the move tool, you've got one of the following options that will work. You can select the element to move and then click on the modify element under tab, go to the modify panel and see that the move tool is there. Or you can go to the modify tab, modify panel, select the move icon, and then select the element to move, and then press enter. Now, something to note that I want to kind of bring our attentions to is the options bar. So we've got now options that we can add to as we're moving these elements. We've got the constraint option that allows us to restrict the movement of this element along the vector that runs perpendicular or collinear to the element. Or, and again, an additional option for us is the disjoin. So this will break the association between the selection and other elements before moving. This option is useful, for example, when we want to move a wall that is joined to another wall. You can also use this disjoin tongue twister for me today option to move a hosted element from its current host to a new host. So for example, we could move this door from one wall to another wall and it will actually be able to rehost. Now, this feature works best when you have a clear, when you clear the constraint option. So now to move an element, click once to enter the start point for the moving option. At this point, we want to then move the cursor in the direction that we want to move this element to. The cursor snaps, two snap points or dimensions will now appear, and you can use them as guides. And then we want to click again to complete the move, or through those dimensions that pop up, you can then enter a value to give you a more precise distance to move that element, and then press enter. The next, we've got the trim and extend elements tool. So there are three types of trim and extend tools that we can use depending on our situation. The relative position of the element and where you click determines whether an element is trimmed or extended. So we've got the trim extend to corner. So this is the most common tool. Use this tool to join elements at a projected intersection point. So each element will be trimmed or extended as needed to create the corner condition that we're looking for. Select the trim and extend to corner tool, and then select the elements you want to join. So when selecting the elements, you select the sides of the element you wish to keep. So for example, when these elements are selected, a corner can be produced to either side depending on which side of the horizontal element is selected. Trim and extend a single element allows you to alter one element. Select the trimming and extending edge first, and then select the elements to be trimmed or extended. Again, the portion of the trim extend elements you want to keep is selected. When you use the single element trim extend tool, the trim edge must be reselected between each trim or extend action. Lastly, we've got the trim extend multiple elements allows you to select the trimming edge once and then select multiple items to trim or extend to that edge. When you use this trim and extend multiple tool, use the window selection to choose multiple elements in one action. Use the trim and extend tools to alter the geometry of elements after they've been placed in your model. Copying elements. So there are several methods that are available for copying one or more selected elements. We can select an element and while pressing Control, drag that element to copy it. Super easy. We have the option to use a copy tool to copy elements and place them immediately within our view. Then we've got the clipboard to copy and paste elements. And lastly, we'll go over how to use a create similar tool to add new instances in our selected elements. So let's jump right into the copy tool. Copying elements with the copy tool. So the copy tool copies one or more selected elements and allows you to place copies in the drawing in that view immediately. So the copy tool is different than copy to clipboard tool. Use the copy tool when you want to copy the selected element and place it immediately, for example, in the same view. Use the copy to clipboard tool, for example, when you want to switch between views before placing those copies. So for example, to copy an element from one level to another. So the copy tool, you want to select the element to copy and then click the modify element within the element tab, modify panel, and use the and select the copy icon. Click you can do click on the modify tab, modify panel, and select the copy icon, and then select the element that you want to copy, and then press enter. So either one of these options will work. So to place multiple copies, on the options bar, select multiple. Click once in the drawing area to begin moving and copying the element. You can move the cursor away from the original element towards the area where you want to place a copy. Now again, click the place to copy, or you can enter a value for a specific dimension that you want it away or copied to. And then continue placing more elements or press escape to exit the copy tool. Copying elements to clipboard tool. So the copy to clipboard tool copies one or more elements to the clipboard. You can then use the paste from clipboard or paste to align tools to paste the copies of the elements in the drawing or even other projects. And I'll go over this again. The copy to clipboard tool is different from the copy tool we just went over. We want to use the copy tool when we want to copy a selected element and place it immediately within this view. And we want to use this new tool to copy to clipboard, for example, when we want to copy something and then switch views before placing those copied elements. So we want to select one or more elements in our drawing area. Click Modify in the Element tab under the Clipboard panel and select Copy. Now, once we have these elements copied, we now want to paste these elements. So click Modify tab, again, Clipboard panel, and now the Paste drop-down menu will appear, and we can select one of the following options. We have align to selected levels. So if you have copied all these modeled elements, you can now place them or paste them into one or more selected levels. This is super handy when you've got a typical corridor. For example, we've got our typical corridor. We've created our ceiling, our lights, and potentially as we go up the building, the footprint changes and we need a new RCP for those views. Instead of recreating all of the ceilings, the light fixtures, ceiling details, the coves, you name it, takes time. What we can do is use this copy to clipboard and then align it to those selected levels. And then this way here, you've got a base point and you can start editing from rather than creating it from scratch all over, saving you time. We then have the align to selected views. So if you copy a view specific element, such as a dimension, or model a model and view specific elements, you can place them into similar types of views. Align to current view. So this allows us to paste the elements into the current view. For example, you can paste elements from a plan view to a callout view. The view must be different from the view where the element was cut or copied from. We then have align to same place. So this allows us to paste the elements into the same place where the cut or copied out we cut or copied them from. So this option is super useful for pasting elements between work sets or design options. Also can be pasted between two files that share the same coordinates. And lastly, we have align to picked level. So this allows us to paste the elements into an elevation view. So note, you must be in an elevation view to use this tool because it requires that you select a level line on which to paste the element. Lastly, we've got copying elements with the Create Similar tool. So use the Create Similar tool to place an element of the same type as the selected element. For example, when you right-click on a door in a view and click on Create Similar, the door tool becomes active with the selected door type already chosen in the type selector. To create similar tool is available for most Revit elements. When you use a create similar, each new element inherits family instance parameters defined by the family editor for the selected element. So elements with create similar do not inherit the values of an instance parameter that were not defined in the family editor, such as comments. The instance parameter values for the selected element apply to the element creating using that tool until the type is changed in the type selector. For example, if we select an element, a wall element, for example, then its height properties are specified as the default for the new walls. So walls created on the same level have the same base offset, unconnected height, top extension distance, bottom extension distance, top constraints, and top offsets. If a new wall is created in a different level, the top constraints is set to the appropriate level. So to create similar elements, select an element, click Modify, Element tab, Create Panel, and click on the Create Similar icon. Or you can right-click on the element in the drawing area and click on Create Similar. Click in the drawing area to place the newly created instance in the desired location and repeat as many times as needed. To exit to create similar tool, again, just press Escape twice. Rotating elements. The rotate command enables us to rotate specific or selected elements around a center point or origin. It also, we can use alignment lines, temporary dimensions, and snaps to help specify the center rotation and the angle. You can create copies of elements as it's being rotated as well. So how to rotate elements? Select an element that you want to rotate. In the Modify panel, click on the rotate icon, or you can use the shortcut RO. Now, the center of the rotation is automatically set to the center of the element or group of elements. To change the center of rotation, what we can do is one of the following. We can drag the center of the rotation control to a new point. We could go to the options bar next to the center of rotation and pick place and use snaps to move it to a new location. And lastly, while we're rotating and have it selected, we can use spacebar to select a new center rotation and click to move to the new location. Now, in the options bar, we can specify if we want to make a copy. So at this point, we can select copy, type in an angle in the angle field, or what we can do as well is type in an angle on the screen using the temporary dimensions. The rotated elements remain highlighted, enabling you to start another command using the same selection or click Modify to finish. The disjoin option breaks any connections between the elements being rotated and other elements. If disjoin is selected, the elements rotate separately. If it's off, cleared, the connected elements also move or stretch, as I'm going through right now, as you can see with this wall. Mirroring elements. So the mirror command enables us to mirror elements about an axis defined by a selected element. So how to mirror elements? Select the elements that you want to mirror. In the Modify panel, select the method you want to use. So click on Mirror Pick Axes or type shortcuts This prompts you to select the elements as the axes of reflection. Click Mirror Draw Axes or type in the shortcut DM. This prompts you to select 2 points to define the axes on which the elements will be mirrored on. The new mirrored element remain highlighted, enabling you to start another command or return to the Modify to finish. By default, the original elements that are mirrored remain. To delete the original elements, clear the Copy option in the options bar. In a Revit model or family, you can use the Array tool to create several instances of one or more elements and manipulate them simultaneously. You can create radial arrays in the elements that you want to follow an arc, and you can create linear arrays when elements follow a straight line. So in this example, we'll add tables and chairs to this room. First, we want to place chairs around the table. So select the chair, and on the Modify tab, click Array. On the options bar, click Radial. For Move To, select the second option to specify the spacing between elements in the array. To specify the angle between elements, you can use the options bar or you can define it graphically. Again, as we just went over, the blue dot in the middle of the chair indicates the center of rotation. Drag it to the center of the table, and now click on the center of the chair to start the arc. Move the cursor around the table until you find the angle that you like, and click it again to end the arc. A number display indicates the number of times to repeat the selected element. And so for this example, we can type 6 and press enter. And at this point, 6 chairs will be placed around the table at the angle that you had specified. Now we want to replicate this table and chair across our room. So creating multiple rows to fill in the room. In Revit, you can only specify one direction for a linear array. So first we want to create a linear array of the table and chairs to create one row, and then we can use the row to create another linear array in another direction. So to create the first row of tables and chairs, click the Array tool again. Select on the table and then press Control as you select one of the chairs. Notice the tooltip and the dotted outline around the chair indicating that you've selected an array group. Press Enter to indicate that you are done selecting the items to array. On the options bar, select Linear, select Group, and associate to place the array of items in a group. So the array can be modified later. So for example, enter 3. For Move To, select the last indicating that will be positioned, and the first item in the array. The remaining items will be placed evenly between the first and last sets. To define the line for the array, first click on the center of the table. Then click near the lower wall to position the last item in the array. 3 sets of tables and chairs are placed along the line. Press Enter to complete the array. To adjust the spacing of the elements, select the first or last item and then move it to the desired location. Now we can replicate the row of tables and chairs across the room. Select the set of table and chairs, click Array, and use the same method to create 3 sets across the room. After creating the array, you can modify if needed. For instance, you select the row of tables and chairs. The array layout line indicates the number of times the items are repeated. To change the number of items, edit the numbers and press enter. Now we need to modify, potentially we have to modify the row near the door to remove one of the tables and chair sets. So when you move the cursor over the table and blue dotted line surrounds all 3 tables in a row, indicate the row's array, press the tab and click the select just the array containing one table and chair sets. Click the group icon to remove this away from to remove this array item from the group. A warning message display will appear and you can click to dismiss it. Use arrays to quickly create and manage multiple sets of elements within your model. So that wraps up the Modify Tools episode. Hopefully that you were able to learn something new that you didn't know and start applying those move, copy, rotate commands into your current project or next project. If you're hearing this message, it means that you've listened to the new episode all the way to the end. And for that, I thank you. Like and subscribe now to gain tongue twister for me, but to gain access to new Revit content weekly.